Welcome to the Better Never Ends podcast. We've made it our mission to share with you the expertise and wisdom of role models and leading experts in their field, teaching us about how we can be better, telling stories about their journey to better, inspiring you to discover yours. Be the change you want to see. Taken from the words of Lewis Paris, sitting in front of me here today. Struggling to think of a true title to attach to Lewis Paris. Lots of strings to his bow is something you'll learn as we talk through this conversation. But be the change you want to see. And I've just been speaking to him off air about some of his content, about the things he posts online, and he openly acknowledged that before recently he was guarded with what he was doing, overthinking posts. That's something I can really resonate with, definitely something I could be guilty of. And he essentially has overcome that and has decided to be more open and put more out there, show more of himself. Because in order to grow as an online coach and to create a personal brand, you have to show that vulnerability. As Lewis has just described to me, you have to be raw, use that authenticity to your advantage, be who you really are, be the change you want to see. So Lewis, help the audience understand who you are and what you can offer to our guest today.
That was a beautiful intro, mate, and a great segue into explaining who I am and what I'm trying to become, right? So I am Lewis Paris, now a longevity coach, so I'm trying to wear that badge on my arm as much as possible and again, become that person I truly envision. So I've got to practice what I preach, especially if I push this out to my clients as well. But yes, Lewis Paris, owner of Lewis Paris Fitness, a wellness company which has been running for 6 years, offering personal training, corporate wellness, online coaching. We had sportswear for 5 years. We've ceased to exist with that as we develop and grow. And yeah, the ultimate goal for me is to inspire the nation. You know, and the best way for me to do that is to lead through example and try and show people that if that person can do it, why can't I do it? You know, I want them to think outside the box a little bit and tear down the limitations that they have. So that's my ultimate goal.
I've known you for a few years now, Lewis, and it feels like every quarter there's a new amazing thing that you are doing with your body that just blows my mind at how you've been able to train for that. The first thing I remember seeing of you was pushing a sled up the track, 30-meter track, with more plates on it than I've ever seen in my entire life. So, Lewis, can you tell the listeners how heavy that sled was?
Yes, so I set the record. It was 500 kg, so the goal was 1,000 pound pull. So at the time I was working with Optimum Nutrition, I was an ambassador, and they were intrigued with what I wanted to do. So yeah, I had a videographer, and one morning, I forgot you was there actually, one morning just came up and said, we're going to do this. Took my pre-workout, we was going for it. Felt strong. I'm not a man that likes to find excuses, but there was no grip for me, but I made it happen. So it was a pull and then a push. So the push felt easier, in quote unquote, than the actual pull. But yeah, the 1,000 pound pull, and yeah, it got the most views, to be fair, on my Instagram. So it's there to be seen, Insta, YouTube, you name it. So you can check it out.
But then it feels like almost the next quarter you then start training for a crazy half marathon, ridiculous, and by the way, not just completing it but nailing it at a very fast pace for someone who is a big chap. And for the listeners here, Lewis is a big guy. So tell us about how you then switch up your training and convert into a runner.
Yeah, I mean, growing up, if you look at the foundation of things, there's always breadcrumbs, there's always clues. So I'm sure we'll dive into this later, but football was a big thing for me. So I was very, very fit. I could run up and down the pitch. I was a centre midfielder. So defensively, then more dynamic, and then more attacking. So I always had that engine behind me. But I'm not a big fan of running, so I wouldn't just go out for a run. This is a new recent thing. And every so often, it's good to just challenge yourself and do things that, I mean, the best way to describe it is it's based off this charity, which is a spinal cord research foundation. And the inspiration behind it is you're not born with this sort of debilitating injury. It happens, and it can happen to anyone. And the mindset behind the people who were able before and then obviously had the accident and now are disabled because of a neck injury, a spine injury, they got paralysis in their limbs as such, but they have the mindset to do more. So if they're fighting just to do the normal things, why can't I do the extraordinary, right? So it's being able to just show people that I'm not one-dimensional. And if you put your mind to it, you can achieve anything. So the ultimate goal for me was I could already do 5K in under 25 minutes. Maybe I could aim for 20 minutes if I really pushed it, if I really, really trained hard. But the goal for me was, can I do a marathon in under 3 hours? The premise behind the charity run was you have a catcher car that starts half an hour after you start, and it speeds up every half an hour. So your half an hour head start is you being able to hold that pace. And for you to get the 3 hour mark, it will show you an approximation of how fast you need to go and what speed the car will be doing. So I had to average a pace of 4 minutes 20, right? And the goal was, the marathon's 42K, right? So I think I got caught around the 32 to 36 mark. I can't remember. This is a couple of years ago. I've obviously deleted from my memory because it wasn't that fun for me, but I got it done. But yeah, I was aiming for 3 hours and I got caught around that mark, and the car caught me at 2 hours 48. So 2 hours 48, just over 32K. Bear in mind, I didn't even warm up. I came literally as we was meant to start. I ran. So that was even without a warm up, you know. So yeah, that was the goal, and yeah, I was glad it was over, but I was able to achieve something that I've never done before.
I gave you a disservice, didn't I, by saying half marathon?
Yes.
3/4 marathon,
Yeah.
to be more precise. And quite a quick pace there, by the way. That is really, really quick. So super impressive stuff. And like, inspire the nation. You said that already. And be the change you want to be. Helping people understand their limitations and pushing beyond them. You know, seeing that they can do extraordinary things. I mean, it really is inspirational. So plenty more examples of you practicing what you preach, leading from the front with these statements on your page. So yeah, check him out. He's quite an impressive chap. But where does this all come from? Where does that deep-rooted desire to inspire the nation come from?
It's a good question. It's a very good question. I've always had this thing in me to help people. Growing up, my dad was a DJ, so he taught me how to DJ. And this was the life once was. So I always had a big passion for the arts, music. Even if I was forced into music because of my dad, because of DJing, but he taught me how to DJ, and I always had a love for fitness, football as such. And when you're looking at the different sides to me, it always comes down to one thing: is how can I help this individual enjoy this present moment, or for what it is, whether it is the music, are they having a good time at this party, are they enjoying themselves? When it comes down to health and fitness, what's going on through their mind? Why is it they think this way? Or what's happened so far? What's the limitation? What's the blockage? I can see past that, right? There's loads of examples on that, but I think that I really can't pinpoint it, but I just have this thing where I just like helping people, and I see things from a different perspective where it's like, okay, you see this, but I see that. Why can't we all see this? You know, so it's very intriguing to see why people might think this way. And I just find it quite interesting, you know. So I'm a big believer of there's no limitations. And if I was to really scale it back, when MySpace was sort of first came out, for some reason I came out as the username Dr. Domino. Ask me a question and I'll sort your problems out. I was just always like, oh, I'm a great listener, in quote unquote. So that was just me. I just enjoy listening to people, learning new things, and being like, okay, you have that perspective. Let's add on to that and let's grow. You know, so I've always had that innateness with me, whether it's going lone wolf or working as a team, but let's grow, let's build, and let's get it done.
This is the Physio Coach Podcast. You're not a physiotherapist, but you are absolutely a coach who I think can inspire our listeners and help them see what an expert coach is really doing and the way that they act and the way they approach life, full stop. And the reason I'm going to go back to it again, and the reason I wanted to start with your examples of how you practice what you preach and inspire the nation is because I believe the best coaches do live and breathe what they preach. You know, they are doing it day in, day out, and if they are preaching health, they live health. And it doesn't mean perfection. It just means that you're going to struggle to inspire someone in front of you if you don't do that yourself in at least some capacity. Mm. So I think that's important, firstly. But secondly, there's clearly a deep-rooted desire to help, as you said. It's there. You can't even really picture or pinpoint where it came from. It's just a part of you. It's so much a part of your DNA by the sounds of it. And then you're covering these really key coach skills of listening, right? You're demonstrating it there. So I think that the modern day physio can learn hugely from other professionals. We don't just have to think, what's the physiotherapist out there that can teach me this? I'm very deliberately reaching out to coaches that inspire me and coaches that teach me so that the listeners can do the same. So throughout this episode, we're going to be learning a bit more about your methods and learning a bit more about why you do what you do, but also noticing some of the similarities between the modern day physio and the modern day personal trainer, the modern day coach, the modern day longevity expert. How I think that we're becoming a lot more similar than we are different. We don't exist in silos. We exist in partnerships, and there's people that can do things better than us, and there's people that can help us achieve things. On our live podcast last night, we were speaking very much about leverage. How do you leverage the situation and the team and the people around you in order to optimize results for the person? This podcast is about that. How does the person leverage this information and knowledge for their client's benefit, for their own personal development? So your beginning was football. Your beginning was DJ. Your current is personal training. Your future is longevity coach. Can you fill in some of those gaps for us?
Depends how far back you want me to go, mate. How else do you want me to glue this in? Yes.
Hey, well, you were a fitness fanatic already, and you found yourself. Tell us about your injury. I know you got injured.
Yes. Football was a big part of my life, and I like every young boy, young chap, you want to become a professional footballer. Funny story, I had the opportunity to do a scholarship at Watford, and it was like a football scholarship alongside some form of educational based stuff as well. And for some reason, I'm a big believer of everything happens for a reason. For some unknown reason, when I went to put in my predicted grade, I put a grade or two lower. I don't know why I was possessed to do that. Maybe that comes back to introvertedness or setting the expectation low so you don't feel like you're a failure as such. So, yeah, I don't know why I did that. But when I got there and I got the grades that were better than what I predicted, they assumed I got the predicted grades. So they said, you're not on this course. And I went, oh, this is the other course you can do, which was the sports, BTEC in sports. So then I was like, oh, what am I going to do? Okay, cool. I like football. I like sports. I like fitness. Let's give this a crack. Just before that, I was given the opportunity to play semi-pro for Boreham Wood, and I turned that down. So you can see I was really in this football element. And the reason I turned that down was I just didn't have the passion or the need or the want to get up at 4:00 in the morning to travel to Boreham Wood every day. Do you know, I was only 15, I was not doing that. But again, everything happens for a reason. And I'm glad I did the BTEC in sport, because I've learned so much to do around all elements of sports, whether it's psychology, health and fitness, sports massage, fitness instructing, you name it. But yeah, coming to my injury, I was playing a lot of football, and just one moment in time, trying to block against this guy on AstroTurf. It was a tournament. We've never played on AstroTurf. We normally play on grass. Some of it felt different. Was still in my sort of AstroTurf boots where you still got the studs. And yeah, I went into block against and defend against this guy, planted my foot. His weight went into mine as much as my own. And I just felt it was like it was in slow motion. It just felt like my knee dislocated, and it was a big one. It just went boop. And it was like, okay, this don't feel right. Proceeded to swell up. And yeah, that was it. Got driven back home, and it was like, okay, what am I going to do? So I went to the hospital. They said, okay, you've done something here. We need to do an MRI or whatever. And then I guess a couple of weeks went by, I had the MRI, and they said, yeah, you've ruptured your ACL. And I guess this leads into everything else as well, where I used to have so much faith in the NHS at that moment in time. Oh, you're young, you'll be fine, do some physio. You'll have they didn't do surgery at that point, but it came later down the line, which was the only surgery I had, which was the keyhole surgery for the meniscus and the cartilage, getting some of the fragments out. But we didn't have the hamstring graft just yet. So this was 2012, I believe, roughly around then. And yeah, I thought all was good. Tried to play football again, and it just kept dislocating, right? Even when I did my DJ stint abroad in the Greek island of Kos, I've done 2 seasons. That's another side to me, where I was doing the DJ and took it very, very seriously, and got into some form of an altercation which caused me to dislocate my knee again. And I'm on this island still trying to work and graft, and I'm now in a foreign hospital. Now I've got to have my knee taped up. 3 weeks was out of action on crutches as whatnot, and then was able to walk again. Came back and then had my keyhole again, and then had the hamstring graft at the either end of 2013 or beginning of 2014. And he said I should have had that surgery first. I don't know if there was just a form of neglect there, or it's just like, he's young, he will be fine. Or I really can't explain it, but that really gave me a lot of distrust in what they were doing, and they were just seeing you as another number, just in and out, in and out. But yeah, leading to that injury, it made me understand that things can happen, but it's not the be all to end all, right? Because as much as football was the biggest thing for me, I thought my life was ended. I'm sitting at the end of my bed like, okay, I can't run, I can't do this. No one educated me on this. I didn't have a clue about health and fitness or the practitioner sort of side of things, or what knowledge I know now. I just didn't have that. So I was just like, okay, my life has ended. I don't know what to do. But again, everything happens for a reason. And I guess it served its purpose in terms of, I can relate to people who have major injuries. I can relate to people who feel like the world is over. So all these things sort of compound or add to the strings of my bow to then relate, and then be able to lead, inspire, motivate others to do more than what they think is happening.
Our live episode that I just referenced last night, in fact, will already be out by the time this airs. So anyone who is interested in learning how to manage a significant knee injury, it's a great place to start. And because it's so true, and we do cover the NHS side of it, we cover surgery versus non-surgery. By the sounds of it, if you had meniscal injury alongside ACL, then that usually is an indication for ACL surgery. It's not an absolute hard and fast rule, but yeah, it usually is an indication. So it's not a surprise to me that you struggled and you had instability in your knee going forwards, and ended up needing that ACL surgery anyway. But as we have already covered, you've recovered very, very well, and you're doing amazing things with your body. So I guess that almost switched things up, didn't it? It sounds like it was a catalyst for change within you, and pointed you in a different direction. So what did the early part of your career look like around that?
After the surgery, I think I went back for another season in Kos, and what that taught me was life is not what we make it. Because for me, I didn't grow up poor, didn't grow up well off. We got on by really well. My dad did what he could for us in terms of, I was very fortunate. We went Disneyland, Florida, for example, but certain aspects, you're like, this is reality. And then you're like, okay, we're quite privileged here, right? Didn't grow up in the best of areas. So what you have around you, your environment, it almost shapes you, or it wants to shape you. We are our environment. So when it came to what I wanted to do, I still didn't have a clue. I thought, okay, football, that's done. DJing, I can do it, but it's not paying it's not giving me the need I wanted. And I was in debt. I wasn't making any money. I was doing warehouse jobs. And for me, it was like, I was just getting by, and on the surface, everything was good. Below, you got credit card debt, you got this, you didn't know how to manage your money, you're just getting along. So for me, it was trying to find my purpose. And when it came to DJing and cos, I realized that you are your reality, in the sense of, if you want something, you can make it happen. And I'm on this island playing music, which for me is still mind-boggling. I'm playing music, getting paid for it. Probably more, as DJs, we were probably like kings of the island, right? We could get into bars for free. We can have meals for free. We had cheap rent, everyone treated us really, really well, because we are the life of the party. I wake up whenever I want. The sun is shining. I see, dare I say, women in bikinis. I'm like, whoa, this is a beautiful life, This is our bubble. This is our reality right now. And then now I've got to go back to my warehouse job and join the rat race. So when I got back after 4 months in cos, I realized that it's all a facade. This is not your life, and it doesn't have to be. And everyone's moving so fast, they're forgetting to just live. And again, there's different perspectives or different things you go through your life experiences that really opened your mind, right? So yeah, coming back, I was like, okay, I want to be able to enjoy my work. I want some form of purpose. What does that look like? I did go to uni after studying sports at college, but it wasn't anything to do with health and fitness or sports. I studied foundation IT because I wanted to learn about programming, and I love to know how things work. That was another passion of mine, like electronics, all of that. But then again, I felt I didn't take it seriously, so I left after the year because I was partying more than I was studying. Obviously, that's DJing me. And then I thought, let me fall back on the sports diploma I got. And luckily enough, a friend of mine who was a manager of a gym, he said, okay, if you want to work here, in quote unquote, we'll put you on the books and then join up with this governing body and you can study for free, right? And I said, I'm taking that advantage. By this time, I was working a warehouse job for a car manufacturer, a major one, and leaning into, I'm giving a long-winded story here, but leaning into me coming into the health and fitness industry, me getting up at 4 a.m. to shift different parts of the car. It could be a car door, a bolt, whatever, up and down these stairs in this warehouse. I was like, is this life? Is this reality? And then I find an internship at the end of 2015, because the place where I was meant to do my studying with closed down. So I thought, okay, shit, excuse my French, I don't know what I'm going to do. So I need to find something quick if I'm still able to study and get my qualification at level 2. So I found this internship, a startup studio, small group PT studio on Old Street, front of house internship, only paid travel and lunch. And I'm studying my level 2. So I was there for about 2-3 months, managed to get my level 2 by saying I'm working here. Started doing a reception role at a residential gym. So you're sort of covering that area and you're doing classes as such, whilst doing this internship role. So a month or 2 after my qualification, and I'm doing part-time at the other place, the owner of the small group studio asked me, oh, I want to take you on board a little bit more. Would you be interested in front of house manager? I said, of course. So took that role on. And the reason being is because I was surrounded by a lot of different expert personal trainers. And for me, it's all about the environment and being able to soak everything up as like a sponge. And obviously I was lost. I was like, okay, I want to become a personal trainer. I just want to become the best personal trainer. I'm not trying to beat anyone. I just want to become the best personal trainer I could be. And being surrounded by these experts, you're learning so much. And then having another side of things where you're learning so much from the founder of this business as well, gave me an insight into how to run and manage a business, which not a lot of people get, right? So it wasn't the conventional route of, I'm going to a commercial gym or I'm studying at uni, and going from there. It's, I'm going in at the deep end. I'm following this guy who's just started his business and he wants me to be his right-hand man as I lead into this now. So I'm head of operations now. So I'm running the studio with him. I've got my level 3 personal training. I'm doing classes. I'm managing the front of house staff. I'm mentoring them. I'm managing coaches, PTs, for someone who's just got in the industry. And that's how it started. So I learned so much from doing the hours on the floor and then the behind the scenes. I loved it, you know, and me getting up at 4 a.m. wasn't a chore anymore. It was like, I'm getting up because I'm enjoying the stuff that I'm going to do now. And yeah, I can keep going, but yeah, that's how it sort of started.
I think it's important to have these conversations with people who have clearly found their purpose and their passion, but also very clearly from what you explained there, you didn't have it all figured out. It took time. You had to explore, discover, and by the sounds of it, that was kind of your 20s, right? Figuring things out, exploring, and that's normal. And that's why I think it's important to explore this stuff, because some of our listeners will be in their 20s, maybe qualified recently or figuring out what they want to do with their career. Like, figure that out by trying stuff. Like, you've done all sorts of different things. Some of it sounds really cool and really fun, but it wasn't quite your purpose. It wasn't quite what you really wanted to do. And you had to figure that out by trying it. And I think it's totally okay for people to, like, mine was sports. I thought I'd be a sports physio. Tried it, had a go at it, did it for a long time. But that wasn't quite it. And I'm very pleased to have shifted out of that. And now I'm very happy doing what I do.
Nice.
So I think it's great to hear you be very comfortable saying, I didn't have it all figured out. It was pretty chaotic by the sounds of it. And it wasn't fun bits of it, but it was all part of that journey, you figuring out who you really were, who is Lewis Paris. And then comes Lewis Paris Fitness, right? Yeah. So Lewis Paris Fitness, 6 years, you've been running that business. By the sounds of it, you were learning all those skills of business ownership, running gyms, building a case, like building a client list, all those things that are really key. So how do you do that? And this is where I want the kind of private practice physios to be really listening in here. How do you build a caseload, a client list, a business around you? How do you do that?
Key word is you, right? So we're all trying to get to the same goal, just on different paths, right? Whether it is physiotherapy, even if it's sports massage or a personal trainer or a fitness instructor, we all want the best for the people that are in front of us, right? What makes it different and unique and has that sort of different flair around it, and then your sort of view around it is just you and what you find interesting and what you can provide to the public or that individual as such. So what I learned at the small group personal training studio was people love me for me, you know, and diving in a little bit, people assumed that was my studio because I was almost the face of it. I was running it. Everyone thought it was mine. So what that done for me was, if you're going to build something based on your values, your principle, and don't be afraid to be you, because people are buying into that. Maybe it didn't switch just then in terms of a personal brand, but again, giving you more insight. Every morning I would try and listen to a new podcast, whether it's on marketing, branding, how to coach, different elements of coaching, sports rehab. It was multifaceted. I was learning on the go, right? I was listening to all these different people. And again, everything is happening for a reason. And I was forced to become a sole trader. I wasn't employed. I was on a 0 hours contract because he was managing his books, which I get is fine. But again, I'm thrown into the deep end. I've been employed all my life, and now I'm self-employed. What's going on here? Okay, Lewis Paris Fitness. Okay, cool. and it just stuck. And then before you know it, I've got a logo, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. So when I left 2018 to go David Lloyd as a gym manager, I wanted to see the other side of things in terms of how things commercially led. I knew how the private sector was going on, but what's happening in commercial, and again, I can add that to my CV. I didn't like it. There wasn't enough flexibility. It was very rigid. It was, okay, you got to do this to do that. I get it. There's standard operating procedures. You got to do this, you got to do that. But unless the team is running functionally, you're polishing a turd because they've got their mind, right? But what was the trigger point for me was, if I'm coming in there and I'm trying to manage PTs and instructors, and you have someone who's clearly high at the top, whether it's the general manager, the regional manager coming in or whatever, and they say, get your instructors to clean their equipment with olive oil because it's rusty. I'm like, mate, we're not cleaners. I get it, but that's not our role. Our focus is the customer service, learning the skills of our job and being able to become the best of that, right? So I left and I went as a general manager of a residential 5-star gym and spa in the city, in my suit. And I thought, okay, this is what I'm going to do now. You know, this is a little bit better in terms of salary. I can manage a team. And it's 5-star. It's another element to it all, you know? So again, I'm hitting all the different avenues. But what that taught me was, again, everything is limited and I know I can do better. I'm going to do my own thing. So that's when I went to Fitness First, Tottenham Court Road, as a freelance personal trainer. But I always told myself, I'm not a Fitness First personal trainer. I'm Lewis Paris Fitness in Fitness First. And what I wanted to do and what I did learn from the small group studio is it's all about the community. It's all about the people around you. If you want to build trust and retention, you've got to focus on you've got to focus on the people in front of you, you know, and put yourself in their shoes. So I always told myself I'm the Louis Vuitton of fitness because it's the experience. It's the experience. It's not just, okay, show up, do this plan, Bob's your uncle, see you next week. It's how are you feeling today? What can I do better each session for you? I'm not asking them that. I'm just going based off what they would relate to me with, right? And I'm always adapting sessions each and every time, whether it's for that individual or for the greater good of my brand, my company, which obviously didn't get formed till a year later. But yeah, the ultimate goal for me was, how can I provide the best experience? Okay, I'm going to provide, in the early days, 2 free sessions. One is just, we're going to do some form of movement analysis to some degree. And again, I'm always tweaking that. And then the second one is based off the movement analysis and how you found things. We're going to do a program based off the information I've learned. And that allowed people to really hone in and think, oh, this guy's taking the time to know me and he's putting in the effort in, but also gave them the opportunity to learn that I'm not your regular PT, right? So it built up a lot of trust in that sort of aspect. That's how I got people coming in. So for me, it was, how can I draw them in? How relatable am I? Can I show my expertise in a way? So if I'm walking the gym floor, someone's doing something in the wrong sort of way, or can I adapt that person's exercise in a different way? I'll tell them about it, you know, not being intrusive, saying that's wrong. It's do it this way and you'll feel better. So for me, it was, how can I draw people in? That was it. It was a numbers game. I managed to do that. And before you know it, I've built up my clientele in under 11 months. And the ultimate goal for me in 2019 was, I want to have my own studio. Hence why my account at the time was, let's form your company now, which was May 2019. And that was just before I was looking to move to a private gym around the corner, which I did in September of 2019. But yeah, the ultimate goal, again, build the experience. How can I make this person feel like they're seen and not just a client as such? What am I giving to them? Are they getting any extracurricular stuff outside the sessions? Is there anything that can be exclusive to them? Are we doing any community-based stuff, which was, I think end of 2019, we did our first LPF Christmas party. All these things that are different, that they've never seen from a personal trainer. They might have seen it from a studio, but again, studios were very brand new then. It was more in East London. We didn't see it in the West End. It was just a personal trainer and the odd sort of commercial gyms or private gyms, but a personal trainer that's going out their way to build a WhatsApp community, do these different competitions where you can see yourself on the leaderboard and win certain prizes. So all these things to get people involved and be like, oh, if I'm part of LPF, Lewis Paris Fitness, oh, I get exclusive discounts here, or I get a part of this community stuff here. And yeah, that's what kind of made people very intrigued and want to stay and work with me for the long run, so to speak. So yeah, I think that could be in a nutshell on how I sort of build.
I think people can take a lot from that, especially on the experience side of it. Like, really make that client feel valued and feel like there's something extra they're getting. Like there's more to it than just someone standing next to you watching you train and telling you what to do and how many reps they got left. You know, you're more than that, and you're providing more than that, and therefore that person feels special. They feel part of your community. I think I'm taking a lot from that and thinking how we can shift things within what we do. So that there's so much value there. And I think sometimes physios forget that side because they think that they are just treating the person in front of them. They've just got to provide a treatment to fix the problem. But if that person doesn't feel valued and doesn't feel listened to and doesn't feel like they're getting the experience they expect, especially the modern day person, I think they'll find somewhere else to have a better experience. So that's important here. That early in my career, I was in places where you were rewarded for getting rid of your patients early. Okay, keep the numbers down. Show the insurance companies that we can fix a person, and I'm using my inverted commas here, like fix a person in 3 or 4 sessions. But actually, you're not. All you're doing there is saving the insurance company money. You're not giving the patient the experience. You're not giving the full value. You're not helping them fully recover from their problem. It's just a numbers game to save money.
Mm-hmm.
It was only when I worked at another private physio company where you started to really understand that to fix people's problems properly, you need to work with people over longer periods of time on average. Occasionally an injury is going to get better quickly, and that's fine. But you've got to really work with someone over time in order for them to be the change they want to be. You know, if you want to achieve that goal, you've got to work hard. You've got to improve capacity. You've got to increase your movement quality, and that stuff takes time. You've got to think more like a coach. You've got to work with them over time. If someone's going to work with you over time, they are committing valuable time first of all, but often they're having to pay out their pocket, or they're having to commit their insurance budget. Maybe they have a limited insurance budget. Either way, you need to convince that person that you're the right person for their journey, which means they have to come in, feel listened to, feel valued, feel respected, feel confident that you can take them on that journey. So you've got to commit that plan to them, and they've got to enjoy the experience. So there's so many things that, by the sounds of it, you were well ahead of your time and figuring this stuff out. And it took me a long time in my career to figure this stuff out. It's only now that I think I'm really getting a full grasp of it. So then you've got your community now. You're working with these people. And another part of what I'm recognizing in your story is that as soon as you sense limits within your environment, you push through and you find somewhere else, right? My version of that was always, I've stopped learning, I need to find somewhere else. I wanted to be the best physio I could be. If I've stopped learning, then I'm not achieving that goal, I'll move, find somewhere I can achieve that. Your version, similar, but with different words. You're sensing limits, you need to find somewhere where there's no limits. You're sensing limits, that you need to find somewhere else. And then, as we have both done, we end up realizing that the limitless growth is essentially creating your own business. So you've done that. 2019 onwards, what did that look like?
There was a lot going on. It was fun, 2019 was the birth of my podcast. So what makes this job very unique is you meet a lot of people in different places at different times of their lives, different experiences. So you learn a lot from your clientele. And I'm a big believer of, if you don't ask, you don't get. But sometimes people are so genuine, they just want to help you out if you're willing to be open with them, right? So had an opportunity to use a studio and do some podcasting stuff, which I did with a friend of mine, which was behind the scenes of a personal trainer. We would try and explain to people that it's not all roses or on your roses tinted glasses as such, but everyone just thinks you go to the gym and you're just training people. That was it. But we wanted to add a different side to that. So yeah, we did that. And leading into 2020, by this point, I'm a year in working with Red Bull UK. So I was doing weekly fitness classes at the HQ office in Covent Garden. So still doing that. So that is roughly, that's a long time, you know.
Gosh, yes.
Yeah, if not a bit more. So end of 2018, yeah, that's a long time. So 7 years. So yeah, you've got that rolling, and then obviously come early 2020, you've got COVID, you know. So we still kind of did the podcast stuff, but there was a moment in time for like 2-3 weeks where it's like, okay, what are we doing here? The gyms are closed. What are we doing, you know? So it was about adaptability, and I'm a chameleon. So everything went online. So that forced me to do or think about online coaching as such. So I was doing the live Instagram fitness classes. I was still doing online fitness classes for Red Bull. Everyone was doing it in their home. I was offering online fitness classes where people were paying me as well. So I was doing the free, I was doing paid versions. And then I was seeing people on Zoom, creating sort of plans, PDF plans for people. So you again, pressure makes diamonds, and it forced me to learn in ways that I didn't think was possible, and expanded my horizons. And then there was a lot of growth going on. I bought a house with my ex out of London, and I had my own garage there, which I converted into a gym. And in that sort of area that I stayed, I was doing boot camp classes and small group training sessions in my garage as well. As you can see, I'm very adaptable. I'm a hustler, and still traveling to London. So there was a million things happening. So again, repetition is the key to mastery. And if there's volume, you can build quality out of it because you're doing so much of it, right? It's like me going abroad to do the DJing stuff. When I was coming back, I used to DJ with a mate of mine, and he looked at me and he was like, "You're a different DJ." I was like, "Yeah, because I'm playing every night, almost 4-6 hours a night. I'm putting the hours in. It's different," right? He couldn't keep up with me. Same with the training, you know, it's the hours you're putting on the gym floor. The more you can speak to your customers and learn about them and their sort of complex cases as such. But yeah, it was a roller coaster. But a lot of things was birthed then. Again, I started working with Red Bull Racing, more so on their esports side, so professional gaming, the sim racing, and have been since 2020. And just came back 2022, started working, bringing my clients here to Until. And since then it's just been, how do I add more value to the clients I've got? And at that moment in time, I was still thinking about having my own studio, you know? So I was thinking, how can I still add value? I'd love to have my own studio where we do small group PT and we can mentor up and coming personal trainers. We can just get a lot going on, add my sort of spice, my flair, my philosophy. But yeah, this what brings us to now. It's like I came to a crossroads, and it's like, okay, I'm hit a glass ceiling now. I'm not looking to do the studio stuff now, but how can I still touch souls and hearts around the world, which was the online stuff, you know? And now I'm trying to be more, not confident, but be more involved in being direct and intentional with how I produce content and how much content I produce. So long form on YouTube and information, educational stuff or inspirational stuff on the shorts as such, and TikTok, Instagram, you name it. So yeah, that you could kind of see where I'm ebbing and flowing and how it's sort of all developed to what you said earlier, from, I don't know, fitness instructing to personal training to longevity coach, and obviously a business owner, a director, you name it. But I'm always a big believer of stagnation kills, and you should always look to challenge and don't be afraid to change when it's time for reinvention. Otherwise you won't develop or grow. You kick yourself in the teeth. You'll feel like you're restricting yourself, right? You're not your true self. So I follow where the heart and the gut tells me to go, you know? So it's all a feeling and what feels right.
Something that jumped out to me as quite surprising when we had this conversation to prepare for today was complex cases. You mentioned it in your last explanation. You were talking about how complex cases require you to adapt and learn and figure things out, solve problems. And the way you spoke about it when we spoke last week was very much like a physio. You've had people who have come to you with aches, pains, injuries, as you've said, that previous physios haven't been able to help with, and you've solved those problems, and people have been able to then be pain-free, fully recover, train, achieve goals that they didn't think they could achieve. How do you end up self-teaching physio?
Mate, I'm bewildered myself. I mean, I enjoy like helping people and learning new things. And when you're in this industry, when I first got into it, I thought bodybuilding was the way. But I always had a knack for calisthenics. So it's like these two don't mesh together, but how can we work together? Do you know? So I guess I taught myself that there is no right way to do anything. And that's how I treat my clients as such. There's many ways to skin a cat, and I like to cherry pick different disciplines within health and fitness, be it calisthenics, bodyweight training, bodybuilding, sports performance, injury rehab, animal flow, you name it. I've got my eye on that, or I've done some form of research of that, or I've done it myself, right? So I know how it feels and how it should be done. And over time, you sort of learn that the common denominator for a lot of these things is a lot of people are just not educated, or they're just not coached in a way that they can really understand. So I've told a lot of people this, that if you can coach someone without lifting a finger and just talking to that individual, you can coach someone in a 1 by 1 meter square, and they can do every form of exercise you want them to do, obviously apart from running or sprinting or pulling a sled as such, something as dynamic as that. But you can teach someone and get your workout done in that. You don't need the whole gym. I should be able to communicate and you should be able to understand me. But again, everyone gathers information and learns differently, whether it is through touch or seeing things visually, verbally. You know, you have to hit these different markers as such, right? So you have to be very fluid and dynamic. Otherwise you will be at a crossroads and you will think, I can do this, and I feel like I'm coaching it well, but they're not picking it up. They're not picking it up because they just probably, it just doesn't align with them, or they just don't know how to, unless you just frame it a different way, right? So again, it's being dynamic with how you view training. And I always understood that there is no limitation. So why do you keep coming to this in terms of, I have lower back pain, I don't know, I think this is it, how do I manage it? Someone's trying to teach me that I've got to do it this way, I've got to build my core and this and that. But sometimes people just focus too much on the symptom. So if they feel something in their hip, for example, necessarily it's not their hip that needs to be fixed. It's where do you see it in the kinetic change, you know? So if you know, for example, there's a certain type of movement that, I don't know, a hinge movement, you know, you're moving anteriorly, posteriorly, do you know what I mean? You're hinging as such. You know, the body's working on 3 planes of movement, frontal, sagittal, transverse, all this jazz. Then I would just say, just reverse engineer it. So if they are feeling something in the hip and they're not getting as much movement as possible, is there a mobility issue? Is there a limitation somewhere along their spine, or something to do with their feet? Or is there a little tweak you have to do when it comes to technique wise? You know, so all these things are going through your mind when you're sort of diagnosing or understanding the person in front of you. And then you're understanding the history. Have they been through something traumatic? How did they get this injury? You know, what are they doing on their day-to-day? Do you know, how do they perceive the world? All these stuff comes through the mind, because if I dive in a little bit, which I'm sure we will, a client of mine who came to me in, I would probably say 2021, I believe. Yeah, she started with me. A larger lady, she was overweight and has been for many, many years, but she would suffer a lot from lower back pain, and she had major back surgery, emergency back surgery before me. And my goal has always been to try and fix her. I always feel like I can fix people. And I knew straight off the offset that there was something there was a disconnect between her mind and her body, ultimately, because the things we can do just wasn't making sense. It was like, you should be able to do this, but why aren't you able to do this? And when we try and do certain things, you've already put fear in your heart, in your mind. So you're thinking, oh, he wants me to do that. Automatically, I'm tensed up. So you're not relaxed. So it means we can't flow the way we should be. And I always go by that quote, we should be able to be fluid and move like water, like Bruce Lee would say, because the body's complex. It should be able to move and flex. We're not a brick, right? So if as soon as you tense up, you're not allowing the body to move the way it should do, right? So my ultimate goal was, okay, just make her feel confident, make her trust me in the process, and learn how to get her to relax outside of these sessions. So when we come back in here, she feels safe, and then we can start tweaking certain things. So I know I'm going around in circles here, but I'm trying to paint the picture of how I would diagnose and move forward with people.
They're important circles. There is a lot within that people can draw on. The mind and body connection, the flow of the body, the tension that is created by fear, the restrictions that then leads to, the inability to move appropriately, the potential deficits, limitations within the body, technically or physically. There's the leaning on someone's goals. There's working with someone, developing a connection. There is a lot there. You're not going around in circles there. You are painting a very clear picture as to how Lewis Paris has figured out injury, actually, complex case management right there. And it takes some physios, I don't think, ever grasp some of the stuff you've just spoken about there. So some of the language you use is different to the way a physio might learn it, but that doesn't mean the concepts are any different. You're touching on some really important stuff there.
Mm-hmm.
So carry on. There's more. I know you've got more there.
So yeah, it was just over time, it was like, I have to manage her stress. And fast forward now, she's American, so they have different views anyway. She said in herself, because she's been overweight for all these years, there's some form of blockage there. So her sort of not last ditch effort, but her thought process was, I want to lose this weight, I want to lose it now. GLP-1, the Ozempic, she's doing that, and now she's on a lower dose, but she's continuously doing that, and she's aware of, I would hope she's aware of the implications. But again, that's a subject where you can only go so far. You can't control this person. This is their life. As long as you're there as the anchor and the support aid to be like, if things were to go wrong, or how do we manage it? So my goal is just to manage it. So she's lost the weight, and now she's going through different surgeries because she's lost the weight so fast. She now has to get rid of the loose skin, and she even had a surgery where I can't remember the specifics at the top of my head, but they had to do an incision in her abdominal region. So she lost a lot of power through that. Now, here's the funny thing. She'd done that surgery early this year, I believe. And after that, she found it very difficult to maneuver in terms of finding the strength to use her core, because her back is doing everything now because the core is not strong enough. So again, the fears come back again. So we got to a good safe spot where she was like, okay, my goal now is, I know I have to go for surgery again. It's not the same thing, but I need to be strong for my surgery. So we got to a good spot. She had another surgery where it was loose skin around the abdominal area. We didn't hit the abs as such. And she came back 2 weeks ago, literally. And in that first session back, she said, how was I coming back based off me coming back from the first surgery? And I said, you're moving a lot better. And she goes, yeah, I've noticed I feel stronger and X, Y, and Z. And I already knew what was going on, because when she came back from surgery, she got laid off from her job, which was very, very stressful and impacted her a lot. So she's stressing now. Her and her partner will train with me now. And she found this new job. And when she came back for her first session after the surgery, it was a different woman. She was a lot brighter. She looked like she'd been rejuvenated. She looked like she had her energy back. She was brighter in the face. And I was just like, yes, I knew something was triggering you, because you now don't feel the same twinges or lower back pain you was feeling last year, the year before that. You're now moving with confidence, and the triggers were there, but you didn't want to believe it, right? Because you think, this is my job, I have to do this, so you've already created up that tension, right? So I told her that, and I saw her yesterday, but in matter of fact, I said, listen, because of your job, you are now a free woman because you feel and look better. You're standing upright, for one. Your posture's improved. We haven't done anything. Your mind has just shifted, which has now encouraged the body to move with a little bit more confidence now, right? So again, we can see all these things and pull it and pinpoint on this muscle group or this thing or that thing, but what is going on in the mind? That's what you have to ask.
What else do you have to ask?
What else do I have to ask? That's a good question. I just listen. I think everything's dictated based off what that person is saying. So if they're coming to me, I always tell people, like, one of my clients I've had for 7 years now, and he's in his almost late 60s, and he was coming for me with lower back pain, and he said, if I don't get anything right now, I'm going to have to go for surgery. So we avoided that altogether. When he first came to me, he was in his ego element, bravado. I'm the director of this company. I know what I'm doing. You just show me a few exercises and I'll be fine. And when we're doing these exercises, I said, mate, you're doing them all wrong. And he's looking at me like, what are you talking about? I tweaked certain things. He's like, whoa, I've never felt that before, you know? And there's all these things of being able to, let's say, for example, maintain neutral spine, or teach someone how to retract their scapula as such, and how do they use their core, how to do breath work in certain elements, how to manipulate their body and contract, and maybe, for example, for a better sense of the word, counterforce. Are you creating energy through the ground to bring it into this weight? Respect the barbell, respect the weights in front of you, turn your body on, switch the muscles on before you do something. You're not gonna get in a car, take the handbrake off, let it roll down the hill, and then switch the engine on, are you? You're gonna switch the engine on, let it run a little bit. How does it sound? Do you hear it ticking over? What's going on? Is it telling you it needs a service? No, everything looks fine. Okay then, pull it into first gear, lay off the clutch, put your foot down a little bit, and let's start cruising, you know? And once it's warmed up, then we ramp it up. Same with the human body when it comes to exercise. You know, people are going to feel at their best once they've warmed up. They feel loose. They feel like the blood's flowing a lot quicker through their body. They're in the zone now. So ultimately, what I'm getting to is, as a personal trainer, I'm sure some physios, yourself, can relate. What I'm doing in this hour, I can't work miracles, but in this hour and moving forward for this individual, whether it's in the day and the week, I'm deloading their stress. They've come in from it could be from straight from work, or they know they've got to get to work in the morning and they're feeling stressed. I'm deloading them so they can feel good about themselves and know that this hour and this situation is for them. So they can switch off and be completely involved, which means they can bring themselves in again. So I'm trying to remind people, you have to be present, because if you're not present, that's when things will happen. You're not in control. You're not understanding the environment or what you've got going on ahead of you. Yeah. So for me, I'm asking these questions and getting them subconsciously into the groove. They don't know it, but I'm almost their agony aunt. And like I was coming back to, every Monday morning, I would know that this client of mine that I've had for 7 years, he would talk to me about his weekend, but not only his weekend, the stress his wife would give him, the stress his kids would give him, the work stresses. I just knew every Monday that was going to happen. And I've got to now take on this energy, but I'm doing it for him because I want him to understand that, yes, you're giving so much to everything else. This is for you, right? So we can only get the best out of you if you feel listened to and you are relaxed.
The coach is a listener. The coach is a technician. The coach is an inspiration. The coach is a therapist. The coach is there to support and be And what you're describing there is kind of the artist as well, right? The coach is an artist. You're blending all sorts of different, really complicated ideas, and applying that for the person in front of you, which is different for everyone. You can't learn this on a podcast, really. You can hear someone who's skilled at their craft describing how they have applied the brush strokes, how they have used their artist lens. But you have to put the work in. That's why we started where we started with this episode, leading from the front as a role model, putting in the hours of figuring out who you are, what's your purpose, why you're here on this planet, realizing that you don't have limits, and pushing boundaries in order to figure things out, tweaking, refining, adapting, chameleon, all these things come in. There's so many powerful words and messages that people can find. And I'm sure there are physios thinking, God, that really sounds very physio-y, what you're describing. There's also this kind of really lovely blend of flow, which you spoke about. You need flow of movement. That's the calisthenics in you, isn't it? And then, but also this need for learning where to brace and be ready. And I think sometimes in physio circles and communities, this idea of bracing gets bad press, because sometimes people who spend their life braced, that causes problems. And I'm sure you can relate to that. If you spend your life braced, then you can't move freely. But if you need to lift a heavy weight, you need to be braced. You need to be able to, I think you said, connect with the floor and drive, respect the bar. You have to learn how to do that. There's a technical skill to that. So it's always a nuance. It's always a bit of everything. And you can only learn that through experiencing and working with people and being really curious about how you solve their problems, how you solve that problem in front of you. What do you need to understand then from the person in order to help really solve that problem?
So initial consultation, and I always tell people, the more information you give me, the more I can help you. So before anyone comes to see me, they have to do a needs analysis form, and obviously a PARCU medical questionnaire to say that they consent for me to train them, right? And then based off that, I say, we're going to do a no obligation movement analysis session. And during that movement analysis, it will allow me to understand how your body moves mechanically, and for you to understand how I coach. So there's no pressure there to be like, okay, if you come here, you have to sign up. No. This is more about me giving value and education. And again, gathering information. I'm gathering information. So again, the information you give me on your goals, why do we want to achieve these goals? What's happening in your current life right now, your lifestyle, who's the people around you, what job have you got? Because the job does dictate in terms of stress, load, whatever, and triggers as well. Your nutrition, what are your vices, what are your dietary requirements. All these little things paint the picture, do you know? So when they come in, we'll do some simple stuff, cat, cows, bird, dogs. I'm tweaking all these simple exercises and making them very strict. And they're like, oh, I've done this before, but I've never felt it this way. I feel my core, my glutes in my bird dog. I feel my glutes in a different way when we do fire hydrants, So all these activation sort of stuff. Then we'll do some calisthenic based, the mobility drill sort of stuff. So we're getting our 90-90 wind wipers as such, and a shin box, and just playing around with that, showing up that this is how the body can move. And then we'll lead into the educational side of things. Have you heard of protraction, retraction? Majority of the times, no, which is basically just movement of your scapula. So we need to move it like this, because I make this the first thing after we've done their mobility drills. I make this the first thing because it's very, very important that they understand how to use their back the right way. And what people tend to do is, when it comes to just moving anything to do posteriorly, it all goes through their upper traps and into their neck and rear delts as such. But we're forgetting how to really engage the lats and use the back for what really it is, to hold, brace. This is support foundation. And once you lock that in, you'll understand that you're not going to use your shoulders as much. you're actually going to be manipulating through the back. And once you do that, your body has to work in a different way, which helps it to feel safer and generate power through the core a lot more, right? People think it's just rectus abdominals when it comes to core. It's everything. It's the hip flexors, it's the obliques, it's how we manipulate our chest. It's a lot going on, right?
I'd even involve the glutes within the core.
Correct.
I
Yes.
fully believe that they are, and I believe it's like the core of the body is the thing that creates the stability platform
100%.
to be able to do what we want to do, either in the gym or in performance.
100%. So yeah, I teach them that, and then we'll go through some exercises: the squat, press up, and Romanian deadlift. These are the main sort of three. And if they are quite savvy, you'll do some pull-ups and maybe some dips and stuff like that. But these are the core things for me, because if you can't manipulate your body the right way, then what are you doing? Really and truly, forget the barbell, forget the dumbbells, forget the kettlebells, forget the bands, forget it all. Before all of that, we just had our body. So why can't we manipulate our body in the best way possible? Understanding how to manipulate and how to be strict in certain movements, and then you'll see how your body feels during that exercise. So we're just tweaking on that. It's like, oh, tuck your elbows in a little bit more. Remember how we did the retraction? Use that in your press up. Oh no, keep the hips tucked in, squeeze the glutes. You feel your core a bit more, right? Okay, if we can't do that, let's do it on our knees, but you can still get the same premise. And then we move that into I say the Romanian deadlift. Let's focus on the Romanian deadlift, because if you can do that deadlift, you can do them more, in my opinion, right? So if we can really get this technical one out the way, you're going to feel confident about it. Oh, you feel your core? Oh, you feel your hamstrings? Oh, okay. There we go. So it's educating, showing them that this is how it's done and this is how we're going to do it. So that's what I learned through that. And then obviously working towards their goals, and any imbalances, weaknesses that I see in that analysis, then I incorporate into their plan and just consult them on that.
And you're shifting your business to an online longevity coach, and you're going to be moving away in the near future. How do you translate your in-person methodology into an online coaching methodology?
Again, I'm still figuring it out, but what I've learned is everyone's doing the same thing. There's a million online coaches out here, right? So for me, I thought I don't want to just be part of the mix. There's something about me that I know is different. So what can I add in regards to variability, and how can I really utilize my coaching skills to be translated online, right? Hence why I'm leaning towards longevity. The common denominator around it is people are buying into you as such. So I need to give them me as such. And what that means is I'm working with them on the mindset, the accountability of things, being that person that they can rely on. So when it comes to the coaching and how to sort of bring what I've done in the physical realm to the virtual, it's still having those parameters in place with the movement stuff. I can come up with some form of framework where they can do that. I could probably film them or watch them do it live if I really want to be intricate. And then obviously build a plan, a program around them. So I tell people I work like AI. The more I work with you, the more I can develop something bespoke for you. You're not going to get the best plan in the first 1 or 2 sessions. You're not going to get the best plan in the first month or 2. It's going to take time, like we mentioned earlier. So for me, what I would like to do is, the plan's the easy bit. Nutrition's easy bit. Man, I have an app for that. Yeah, here you go. Bob's your uncle. The real value is me understanding you and getting you to learn that it's not just the training. How can we manage things outside of that? Do we need to really hone in on building your recovery? Do we need to hone in again, okay, your habits for your nutrition as such, your routine? What are your stress triggers? These are the conversations we'll have. The plan is the easy bit. This is the stuff I'm more interested in. Hence why, again, I'm leaning towards the longevity side of things, because what I seem to see with a lot of people is they just think, okay, I want to lose weight. I want to get stronger. I want to look well. But I'm like, okay, that's fun. It's only going to last for so long. That's a short-term goal. Let's look at the long term, which is if you focus on performance, the aesthetics will follow. If you focus on understanding how to better your life as it is now, you won't feel like you're running away from it, because people are trying to escape from their reality when you should make your reality your sanctuary, So if you can do that, then things will become a lot easier. You have your habits in place, you have your routine in place, you feel safe, you feel confident, and that's what's going to breed success. So I think that's where the longevity comes into play, because once we can get that into your foundation, then your future self will thank your past self.
It's powerful stuff, and your journey clearly encapsulates all of that, and how you got there is through this curiosity, isn't it? This real passion to be the best trainer you could be, and now you're starting a new career almost, really, isn't it? It's almost a new chapter in your life. What advice do you have for younger coaches out there, younger physios out there? What should they be thinking of as they move through this complicated world?
We're surrounded by a lot of information, some good, some reputable, some not so good. But I would say always dare to dream, and always dare to question the narrative as such. Not everything is as gospel. Sometimes there is a lot of smoke and mirrors, but believe in your truth. A book was given to me when I was working at the studio by the founder I was working with. He was obviously my mentor at the time as I was developing into head of operations. Simon Sinek, Start Your Why or Find Your
With why.
That's it. So when I read that, that's when my mind was blown. I was like, what is my why? What's my purpose? And as soon as I understood what my purpose was, which was literally, I want people to become the best version of themselves. What does that look like? How can I build around that? So if you find your why and the reasoning to what you're doing and how you can implement it with your clientele, even your friends, your family, if you can inspire your friends and your family, then you can inspire anyone, I feel. You can inspire a stranger, you can inspire a child, But if you start with your why, the studying's easy. We can all read a book, we can all, people learn differently. I learn by doing things. So yes, research as such and trial and error, but I need to physically do it. That's how I adapt and grow and gain the knowledge I have now, right? So we can read till the cows come home, but regurgitating that information is not going to help that individual, because you're just speaking science talk. They're like, okay, we know you know what you're saying, but I don't understand what you're doing here. So for me, it was, how can I speak so people understand me? So if I was to speak to a 10-year-old, they can understand exactly what I'm saying. So that's what I had to teach myself, and that's what I bring. So going back to your question, I would tell people, dare to risk, dare to be be curious, experience as much as you can, and listen. Don't listen to parrot what someone's saying. You're listening to adapt your next question. Does that make sense?
Does. Seek to understand.
Correct. So that's what I would say, and then you build your foundation, your blocks from there.
Pressure creates diamonds,
100%,
as you said.
100%.
We have a diamond in front of us right here. And I think it's important that people acknowledge that pressure is essential, and just, there should be stress. And that's the thing that drives the adaptation, drives the fatigue, drives the learning, drives the growth. And then we have diamonds.
Mm.
So thank you, Lewis. Our final question is, what does better never ends mean to you?
Hey, caught me on the spot with that one. It means life is limitless. Stay open-minded, think outside the box, remain present, and always seek life in the positive light. If you see things positively, you would find the opportunity. If you don't see it, the door's closed now. But if I'm seeking and saying, okay, this is happening, this door's open, but then this one's starting to close, which means it doesn't mean my life is over. It means the next one is open, swings and roundabouts. So there's a yin and a yang. There's a plus and a minus. You know, there's always opposites, right? So if something's happening there, then there's always something better elsewhere. Do you know what I mean? So better never ends. It means life is limitless, in my opinion.
How does someone find you if they're interested in learning more?
I'm everywhere. Lewis Paris Fitness. You can Google me. You can find me on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Lewis Paris Fitness. You'll find me. If not, just Lewis Paris. You'll get me, man. It's all good.
Thank you. And for the listeners and our audience that have made it this far, we're asking if they can leave us a review, because that's how we're going to grow this, reach more people, help more people, inspire the nation, as Lewis Paris would say. So if you've got some listeners that are here, then we're probably for you. We want to reach more people like you, so leave us a review.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to today's podcast. This podcast is sponsored by Better, provider of health and wellness services in central London. We really believe that we can help people feel better and live better. You can book in for face-to-face services at any of our 3 London clinics. We have one in Marylebone, one in Soho, and one in the city. You can also follow us on Instagram at Better Never Ends, or head over to our website for more information about the clinics or the podcast at www.betterneverends.com.